first person on our Arts and Culture edition of First is Tina Betz. Tina, so great to see you again.
Good to see you again too, Shirley.
It seems like you've handled every cultural event under the Baker administration, because you have, but you also played a big part in refurbishing the Queen Theater, so I do want to start there. You know, we know that World Cafe Live is leaving the Queen Theater.
Yes.
There are rumors that Live Nation is coming in. Do you know if any organization is sort of signed on the dotted line yet?
You know, nothing has been announced officially. There are conversations happening behind the scenes, and there's a lot of interest, and I think one or two organizations in particular are extremely interested. We will know at the end of May. Okay. May 25th, I believe, around that date is the last date for World Cafe Live, and soon after that there will be an official announcement about what will be happening next.
Okay, so have you talked to Hal Real at all since he announced that World Cafe Live was leaving the Queen?
Yes, because the Light Up the Queen Foundation, of course, continues to hold our arts education programming at the Queen, and World Cafe Live. I'm the executive director, and Hal Real and his team are still there. So we work together frequently, and I have spoken with Hal to talk about moving forward, and you know, we've become really good friends, and we will continue to be friends.
He seemed, you know, he had posted something like on his Facebook saying that the progress in Wilmington, that yes, we have come a certain distance, but it just wasn't enough. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that, you know, Hal is a businessman, and he has a business model that works better in some places than in other places, and he has, you know, a goal and both financial and also, I guess, creative goals as far as his business is concerned. And so, you know, he made a decision that the 6 years, 5 years that he spent in Wilmington was enough for him, and that he needed to move on and pursue other interests for his business.
Although that's not to say that they didn't have a huge role in sort of the revitalization downtown.
We would not have done it without them. It would not have been a complete picture without what World Cafe Live brought to the table as far as the partnerships are concerned.
Having the Grand, you know, a few blocks away, and then you have the Queen Theater. Can Wilmington support both? I mean, it looks great on paper, but do you think Wilmington can support both?
Absolutely. One of the things that we have, of course, our population is what our population is. When the arts don't just support the people who live and work in a city, it also attracts people from outside of the city. And you know, I like to think of it as the food court sort of concept. When you go to a place and there are multiple options, you just feel like there are multiple options, and it draws more people because there are more choices to make.
There are proposed federal cuts to the National Endowment of the Arts, and we're talking massive cuts in our programs. So what does that trickling down here in Delaware? I mean, the Delaware budget is also, we're going to have to make some tough choices here.
Right.
Are you concerned?
I think there's reason to be concerned. That concern, however, should translate into advocacy, and to also starting to continuing to remind people about the value of the arts. I mean, there is not a great city in the world that doesn't put an emphasis and in the way of money and creativity into the arts. Not a great city in the world. So if we want to have our great cities here in the United States, you know, one of the greatest countries in the world, then we will understand the value of the National Endowment for the Arts and the other organizations that support that type of activity in the United States. Yeah, there's reason to be concerned, but concern just means that we need to step up to the plate and continue to talk about how it is that the arts support what it is, how it is we live in this country.
And I think the public's going to need to step up.
Absolutely. There needs to be a public outcry. This is not the first time that the National Endowment for the Arts has been threatened. It's happened before. And because people, you know, once people are threatened with it, they understand, you know, now is the time for us to really let people know how important it is to us. And we are doing that now. Lots of people are doing it. Both people who are totally immersed in the arts world and people who just understand the importance.
And so what are you working on right now? Are you working on some of this advocacy piece of it and what else is going on?
I pick up the telephone and call our wonderful representatives in Washington whenever I can, which is frequently. Unfortunately, as you know, living here in Delaware, we call our representatives by first name, so we can actually walk up to them on the street and express our opinions, and they're always very, very open. I don't think we're going to have any problem with our representatives, supporting a good position with the arts and also helping their colleagues understand the importance of supporting. So yes, I'm involved, as many of my peers are involved, and it doesn't take a lot to push our buttons. As a matter of fact, our buttons are never not pushed.
Well, Tina, we appreciate all the work you're doing on the behalf of the arts. Tina Betz is the Executive Director of the Light Up the Queen Foundation, and you can watch this interview on newsworks.org/Delaware. Tina, thank you again.
Thank you, Shirley.